I've been thinking about Brandin Cooks a whole lot these last few days, and I'm going to tell you why. And also, we're going to get into three reasons why he could be in for a 1,000 receiving yards season in 2024. Let's get to it. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, and catching up with you guys in between with these quick-hitting videos. And tonight, we'll talk about Brandin Cooks, and here's why. Everywhere he goes, Brandin Cooks is asked about him being a mentor to see the lamp a little bit, but also to Jalen Tolbert, who he apparently has taken under his wing ahead of the 2024 NFL season as a former small, cool wide receiver, tries to figure things out as he tries to battle for that number 3 wide receiver spot, and ahead of a key season in which he appears to be the guy. Michael Gallup is out of the picture. Jalen Tolbert, we know about that rookie season where he really struggled, according to himself, according to teammates, according to coaches, with the mental aspect of it and with the learning aspect of it, where Jalen Tolbert openly said he struggled learning how to play from the slot, from the outside. He struggled to learn all of the rules that came with the position. And then in year 2 of his career in the NFL, kind of took that on, had that mythical notebook that Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, talked about, where he detailed that Jalen Tolbert had very in-depth notes about every single thing about the offense for him as a receiver. So Brandin Cooks teaching Jalen Tolbert how to go about his business, right? Everyone wants to talk about that when they talk to Brandin Cooks. So much so that the other day when he was on OTAs, and you can see that interview on the Dallas Cowboys YouTube channel, until the very end, he's asked about himself. What's up with Brandin Cooks? How is he doing? And that kind of got me thinking, man, Brandin Cooks is the number 2 wide receiver of the Cowboys is still something that gets me excited. I know things didn't quite go as everyone expected them to go last year, specifically because of a slow start. And Brandin Cooks himself even said that when they were talking to him about that. But Brandin Cooks said something that I thought was pretty cool to hear, right? He's asked about, how he can be as a playmaker and everything. And he said, I am ready to rock. And don't get me wrong, I am a leader, talking about all of those, helping out the younger guys that we just talked about thing. Don't get me wrong, I am a leader, but at the same time, I'm a playmaker. In my mindset, I just look forward to getting the season going and hitting the stride like I know I'm capable of in this offense. I will lead from a teammate standpoint and go out there and make a lot more plays than I did last year. Let's talk about last year for Brandin Cooks, because, as we approach the 2024 season, I am wondering, could he hit the 1,000-yard mark in 2024? And in fact, let me know what you think. What do you make out of that? And I'll be on the comment section later tonight seeing what you guys have to say. Yes or no, or hell, over or under 1,000 yards for Brandin Cooks in 2024. Let me know what you think. Before we get into the 3 reasons why I believe he could go over that mark, here's a little bit of context. From 2015 to 2021, which is his second year in the NFL, to 2021, he averaged over 1,000 receiving yards and had only 6 out of those, 7 seasons with 1,000. He hit that mark in 6 out of those first 7 seasons. Now, when I look at what happened with Cooks last year, it's pretty evident things didn't go great early on. First 6 games, he averaged 23.5 yards per game. He had 2 touchdowns in those 6 games, and then he picked it up. Remember, there was a Rams game where he went off 173 yards, amazing performance. But in those last 11 games, he also had 7 total touchdowns. He averaged 55 yards per game, which is more than double the mark of those first 6. And if you take out that 173-yard performance, he still doubled his average, going from 23 to 40, basically. right? Without the 173 monster game that he had versus the Rams. Brandin Cooks at the end of the season, he kind of became this very solid number 2 option at wide receiver, but he also kind of became a touchdown specialist because Dak Prescott and him really developed something special in all of those routes where he is going horizontally from one side to the of the offense to the other corner of the end zone, and Dak hitting him over there. That play, we saw it take place multiple times, and it was immensely clean. You kind of saw that chemistry grow throughout the season, which leads me to the 3 reasons why I believe Brandin Cooks could have a much better 2024 than he did in 2023 and maybe cross the 1,000 yard mark. I'm going over, by the way, I'm going to bet on that big year from Brandin Cooks. Here are the 3 big reasons why, right? Number 1, second year with Dak Prescott. That is the big one. Second year with Dak Prescott should only lead to an increased chemistry between the two, right? It's another offseason of working together. We know that something that really characterizes Dak's success in the NFL is the work that he puts in, the work ethic. It's another year on the Dak yard, another year of all of that. So just, and being familiar, obviously, with the Mike McCarthy offense as well helps. And we're going to get more into the Mike McCarthy offense in a little bit, actually. But that's the big one, right? And Brandin Cooks actually also talked about this, right? The fact that he was, when he was asked about what could be better, he said, personally, just having a season under my belt, talking about Dallas, right? Started slow that first half of the season, but picked it up. And he said, I think overall as a team, we also know what we have, being able to tune out the noise, tune out the distraction, and continue to just focus on the task at hand. That's Brandin Cooks talking to reporters on OTAs. But yeah, man, that's easy. Number 2, and this goes hand in hand with number 1, but those long bomb plays. Now we're getting specific here. Last year, even though Dak and Brandon really got those plays that we were discussing earlier down, right, where he's going from one side to the offense to the other, in those crosser routes, in those bender routes as well. We saw a lot of chemistry there. The fly route never really got it going, though. And that was a big part of Brandin Cooks' game in previous stops around the NFL. And I can think of several examples. That perhaps the biggest one of them all is the Buffalo Bills one, because I know we still have nightmares about that game. That could have looked very different if Brandin Cooks and Dak Prescott connect on that long bomb over the middle of the field. I know it was windy and everything, but they still should have connected on that play. And there were several of those examples throughout the entire season between Dak and Brandon. If Brandon gets that down with Dak Prescott, if suddenly the fly route is a factor on the Cowboys passing game, you know those numbers are going to go up for Brandin Cooks. Just look at it this way. Last year was the 3rd lowest yard per reception mark that Cooks has had in his career in the NFL, which goes for over a decade. So that tells you, even though the difference might be small, right, in the grand scheme of things, that those long gains were really missing, right? I think his longest catch was 37 yards in 2024, which is in 2023, which is crazy to think about when we think about Brandin Cooks being this deep play specialist, honestly. So that coming back could help Brandin Cooks hit that goal of that, 1,000 yard mark. 5 out of the first 7 games from Brandin Cooks in 2023, he was under the 30-yard mark. I think it's going to be the absence of such performances that really goes a long way more than anything else. And the big plays are going to help avoid those kind of performances, I believe. Now, number three reason why I believe Brandin Cooks could go over 1,000 receiving yards. This is more about the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy, the overall passing game philosophy. Who knows what it's going to look like when September comes around, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I am begging the football gods that it doesn't take the Cowboys until week 7 to decide to pivot to the passing game as these teams' identity on offense. Because early on in September, in October, the Cowboys were just controlling the football, quick game stuff. They were running a whole lot. And then when their backs were against the wall after that bye week, after that Chargers game, they went, okay, screw it, Dak, you run this show. And they started being super pass happy on early downs. We started seeing those games in which CeeDee Lamb was targeted 10 plus times and stuff. So I hope that by week 1, that is already the Cowboys' identity when the season starts. I think that part is going to be huge. And if it is going to lead to increased numbers from Brandin Cooks starting in week 1 instead of starting in week 7, week 8, and then him having a 657-yard season like he did last year. All of that is going to contribute, in my opinion, to a better season from Brandin Cooks, and one in which he potentially has 1,000 4-digit production by the end of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the show, hit the like button for me. I will see you tomorrow night. Have a good Tuesday, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.